Hello everybody, this is Connander, and as promised last time, this is my next video in my series on making money through crafting. Now, today's video is going to start to cover our online tools and go more in depth into them. And I was originally going to make one giant video on it. I was thinking it'd probably be no more than a half hour, but it turned out to not be the case. So we're going to break this down into probably no more than 10 to 15 minute chunks is what I'm shooting for with this. So today is just going to cover a website that Gilly asked me to go over, which is GW2 Crafts. And then we'll move on to hopefully the wiki and Guild Wars 2 efficiency into 2 videos next time. And then I'm probably going to go for one last long one, which is GW2 BLTC and profits. And that's going to be maybe closer to a half hour, just so I can cram that all in. I don't want to draw these videos out too long. And so let's get started. We are going to start with a tool today that wasn't mentioned in my previous outline video. If you've watched that first video and went, that's great, but I don't have a max level profession or even profession like level to 400 yet, is there an efficient and cheap way to do that? And there actually is. There's a great website called GW2 Crafts. And this is my go-to tool for when I am leveling crafting professions, and especially as cheaply as possible, because if you don't know what you're doing, you can easily spend 30, 40, 50 gold doing it, when in reality, sometimes you can spend as little as 10 gold doing it. So we are going to go over that first. Now, this website is broken up into about 4 or 5 different parts. The first one is the normal guides, which is the slow process of getting to 400 with the least amount of gold. The fast guides is the fastest way to do it, but it's going to be more expensive. 400 to 500 is getting to the max level on these professions, and the special is broken up for different tools like cooking, and then the 400 to 500 in different ways. Now we're going to get started with the normal guides. So the first thing to know about this is do not refresh this page. It says it right at the top. And the reason for this is because this number right here, with the artificing, this number, this is current trading post prices. And if you refresh the page, this will be different. So if you've bought a number of these things, they're not going to be the same numbers. Now you can get a permalink up there so that you can save that and use that consistently to keep it from doing that, but just remember, don't refresh this page unless you have that permanent link. Now, this first part on the normal guides, so we're looking at artificing here, and this is the cost and recovery. So it's saying it's going to cost you 12 gold, and then the recovery is 1 gold, 25 silver, and so it's going to cost you 11 gold, 38 silver at the end. The section after that is the API key. Now what this does, you can do this without it, but this is grabbing information from your account so that you can say, hey, you have copper ore already. You don't need to buy any. Or, you have these recipes, so you don't need them. Stuff like that. And so it's a very helpful part of this. Moving further down, this is the buying the vendor. This is from the vendor right next to the crafting station. You want to buy these amounts from that vendor. Buy recipes is, again, all the recipes you're going to need to get to the max level. So the higher level recipes you need to buy from the vendor for karma, and it's just telling you that. And then the next portion here is the collectible. So this is everything you're going to be using. And if you don't put in your API key, you want to check your bank for what you have. And then if you're missing it, it's saying buy it on the trading post. So for this, it needs 1 copper, 2 gold, 85 mithril, a whole, on and on and on. And then this is stuff that's in between. So this is all raw materials. This is stuff that's like these soft scepter rods, right? Use the raw materials. So it's saying it's cheaper to just buy these off the trading post than to buy the raw materials and make them along the way. And then finally is onto the make here. So I'm going to break this down a little bit more. The first thing I will say is shoot for about like 50 levels at a time, 50 to 100 levels at a time. Don't buy everything in one go necessarily, because you might be waiting on trading post items to come back to you. And if you forgot to get the permalink, then these numbers are all going to be wonky, and it's not going to go right. So do about 50, 50 levels at a time, and maybe even just do it where it puts these breaks here. So, tier 2 is from 75 to 150. So start with tier 1, 0 to 75. And then once you finish that, then move on to tier 2. And the way this works is it tells you what to make. So 45 green wood planks, 1 pile of lucent crystal, 5 green scepter rods, so on and so forth. And then this is really where most of your XP is coming from, is from these discoveries. And you can click on the little red arrow here to expand the recipe itself, because the discoverer, you would have to, if you don't have it, you have to figure out what to put together. And this gives you what you need. So green scepter rod, green scepter core, might ingredient inscription, so on and so forth. And just all the way down until you get to 400. Another thing to note is that under normal guides, it includes every profession. And when we're using this as a way to make money, not all these professions are going to be useful to you. So scribe, for instance, while there's definitely potential to make money, there are a number of problems with it. One, you need a scribing station, which is only accessible through a guild hall. So guilds usually restrict access to it, or they force one player to be the guild scribe. And it's going to be more of a, we need you to make these things for the betterment, for the betterment of the guild and whatnot. And two, the just sheer cost, this is saying 106 gold to make it. And that is out of the reach of most people, especially if you're trying to level crafting to get to the point where you can, spare 106 gold. So in my opinion is, if you're trying to craft to make money, scribing is not worth it. Now, if you're the guild scribe and they've basically told you, you need to do this, and you can kind of do it on the side, there are a couple things to make money off of, but not a ton. So pretty much I don't think it's worth it. Another one is cooking. Now, cooking is kind of wonky. So you can definitely, I have to select, yeah. If you can, there are ways to make money cooking, but they're kind of rough. I've tried it before, and it just seems to take forever to get the ingredients and whatnot. So cooking is definitely useful. So if you are just getting professions up, definitely do it, but cooking can be kind of weird with making money off of it, is what I've found. Now, I am going to go over this just so I can explain this whole site. So this no heart, top 5 hearts, and all hearts, what that is certain heart vendors carry cooking ingredients that you can buy from them. And so this is basically like in Quarteria, if you don't have any of the hearts, which is what this is what you need to grab to craft. If you have 5 of the top 5 hearts, which I would have to sit down and figure out, which at the very least I'll do. I'll put that in the description below when I can sit down and figure that out. What these hearts are, and it will kind of speed up the process here. And then if you have every single heart in the game, then it speeds it up even further. Now, the price differences, so the price differences between the top 5 and all hearts is pretty slim, but between no hearts, it's definitely a lot better. The last one I'm going to go over under normal guides is jewel crafting. And unfortunately, jewel crafting, there are definitely ways to make money off of it. It's not as accessible and worthwhile compared to armor smithing or artificing. Most of the recipes that jewel crafters can do are not useful in game for most players, whereas with armor smithing you can make a ton of armor for yourself. Jewel crafting, pretty much we tell everybody to go for ascended trinkets and not really worry necessarily about the exotic ones, and so that kind of just like leaves jewel crafting high and dry. That being said, there are recipes that are very worthwhile in jewel crafting to make, such as grow lamps is what I do, because that uses the time-gated charge quartz to craft it, and so it becomes worthwhile. Or if you're trying to get a legendary, you might need to level it. So don't pick this as the first thing to level. Do it after you have one or two of the armor making and weapon making professions leveled. Now, moving on to fast guides, the main difference is between the two is what you're crafting and how much it's going to cost you to craft. So for the normal guides here, you're discovering a lot of stuff. So, level 25, all these things are discovery. Now, if I go over to fast guides for weapon crafting, so the first thing you would notice is it's 26 gold versus 20 gold to craft, which isn't crazy, but it is more expensive, and if your funds are tight, that might not be an easy thing for you to spend. And when we go down here and we look at level 25, you discover one thing and then make a bunch of it, and that is the difference between the normal and fast guides. Is the other one is a lot of discovery, this one is making the same thing over and over and over and over again. And we are going to move on to our last portion, which is second to last portion, which is the 400 to 500 crafting. Now, those levels are, this is for making ascended items. That's why they were introduced into the game. And this is where I personally right now make a lot of my money by crafting inscriptions and insignias, ascended inscriptions and insignias, because I can get about 10 to 20 gold return depending on how many mats I have in my bank before I buy them. And so this is very worthwhile. Now, that being said, here is the sticker shock. So if I did the fast guide to get to 400 for weapon crafting, it's 26 gold. And I click on the 400 to 500. Now it shoots up to 53 gold because there is less to discover, and you're having to you have to make expensive items to discover this. And that's why it gets so expensive, because you're essentially making level 80 exotic equipment to craft, and you're discovering those recipes, which is what gets you the experience, and you're doing that for 100 levels, and so it adds up. But that being said, this is more of the same, so it's pretty much the same as the normal guide. Buy your stuff, collect it, make it, and get your way up to 500. And then we are finally on to the last section of this website, which is the special guides, and this is solely for cooking. And what this is bringing up is basically this is the fast guide for cooking, but the difference being it's broken into two parts, 1 to 200 and then 400 to 450. So the 1 to 200, this is saying that you can craft certain items faster than discovering recipes through the normal cooking guide, but only from level 1 to 200. Going above that, it's just better to go with the normal guide. And then the 400 to 450, so this is used particularly for cooking, and the reason why it doesn't go to 500 is because after 450, you have to do an achievement to get the most out of finishing off that crafting. So this guide is basically saying it's pointless for me to give you a guide. Just do the achievement, you'll get yourself to 500. But to get from 400 to 450 quicker, and so you can get those last 50 levels through the achievement collections instead of doing the achievement collection, not quite getting there, and then having to craft some stuff to get the last leg. Here is how to do it efficiently. And it's broken up into all that, and then there are also weapon crafting and whatnot, and this is the fast version of 400 to 500 for these. So instead of discovering a bunch of stuff, you are just buying a bunch of like Shaman's Orichalcum imbued inscriptions and then making them over and over and over again. All right, so that was covering GW2 crafts, and next week I'll get into the wiki and GW2 efficiency and how we're going to use those in specifics to help us make gold. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and leave a comment or like and subscribe. You know, or not, I'm not your parent. I promise I won't take it too harshly. But you can catch me on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, starting at 5 p.m. Central Time. And I'll post links to my Twitch channel below, as well as GW2 crafts, and then I'll post the links as we go through the videos. All right, catch you next time.